Talk Online bonus coverage of Husker Harvest Days here in Grand Island, Nebraska. We are talking with Wade Sikkink of Valley Irrigation, product manager for Valley Irrigation. This show is a real showcase for irrigation equipment. And Wade, you were telling me this is kind of a kickoff for your company, for Valley, to show what's new and to really talk to farmers about their irrigation equipment decisions. And this is an interesting year to do it. A drought year. Are you finding that farmers that don't normally have irrigation are maybe thinking, well, maybe I ought to have that protection?
Yeah, that's right, Mike. A lot of guys that maybe hadn't thought they needed it before, or just wasn't something they had spent a lot of time thinking about, are the conditions that happened this year are making them at least think about it and say, it's something I should probably look into. A center pivot isn't the kind of thing that you just go out and buy. It's something that you need to spend some time thinking about. But we're finding that this year in particular has got a lot of people thinking about irrigation, particularly if they have other growers around them that do irrigate, and they can see the differences and talk to them about how their year has been in contrast to a dryland farmer. In
areas of the country that maybe you kind of expanded into, areas that we don't traditionally think of maybe as having a lot of irrigation equipment.
Yeah, here in central Nebraska, heavy irrigation area, lots of center pivots, but they also get rain here. It's not that you can't grow a crop without irrigation, but it's more of a consistency to your operation. You get east of here into Iowa, Illinois, Indiana, some of those areas where there aren't as many center pivots. A lot of those areas are starting to ask that question of, I wonder if I should take a look at investing in irrigation as a way to add almost a little bit of insurance to my growing operation, not only in the years like this year, which is an exceptional year, but it's years that maybe aren't as dry, but still your yields would be lower than they would have been. What the irrigation is going to do for you then is raise that yield to a more consistent level for the grower.
And for those that do use irrigation equipment, a year like this, they're now looking back and saying, how did it perform?
Right, and growers that did irrigate, the severeness of the drought this year is still going to affect their yields as well, just not as much as guys that didn't irrigate. And those growers that have the irrigation systems in place already, they're going to come through this year in a little better shape. They're going to actually have decent yields that they can count on, and then they'll be in a position to continue to make those kind of investments moving into the next years.
Let's talk about what's new from Valley. And I've been amazed in talking with you over the last couple of years at the technology that's being introduced, being brought into irrigation equipment. And really what we're seeing throughout agriculture now is really fine-tuning and putting this technology to work.
Yeah, we've been very focused on GPS-related products, using GPS to add a level of precision to the irrigation operation that hadn't existed before. We've been very focused in the last couple of years on the remote control and monitoring technology, using both either a cellular-based product in our tracker product line or a radio telemetry product in our base station product line that gives the grower the ability to not only monitor what's happening with his equipment in the field, but also be able to control it, start it, stop it, change direction, those kinds of things. And what we've really found is in a lot of cases, that gives a grower a lot more flexibility and efficiency in his operation. So a good example would be a lot of growers operate in a load control situation for their center pivots, where they're essentially only allowed to operate them at night. They get better electric rates by doing that. And so in the instance where a grower's in a load control, he might have to get in his pickup at 10 o'clock, drive around to all of his fields to start his irrigation equipment. Whereas if he's using a base station product, he can sit in his office at his house, turn his pivots on, see that they're running fine, go to bed, the next morning get back to the computer, see that everything's still running fine, and not have to go at that time to do that. We're not trying to take the farmer out of the field. The farmer still needs to go and make sure everything's fine, but what it does is allows him to schedule his day in a way that is more efficient for his operation.
Unfortunately, one of the things we've seen in the last few years, a lot of copper thefts, which has affected irrigation units, but I know, Valley, you've taken some steps to protect against that.
Yeah, we back in 2008 and 2009, when commodity prices had really erupted at that time, we developed a product called Cable Guard, which was designed to protect the copper wire on center pivot systems. We actually went back this year again and did some revisions to that product and improved the way it's installed on the machine, improved some of the making it more physically difficult to get that wire off the machine. And so we're doing that in conjunction because we're seeing more of this interest in as cable theft is growing again. So we have a line of products, not only the cable armor, which covers and encases the cable on the machine, but we also have a cable theft alarm device that uses it looks just like a tower box, but it uses a cellular modem inside that if the cable gets cut, it will call up to 9 phone numbers and notify. And we've actually had instances where the device worked exactly like they said, where they got the alarm at 4 in the morning. The grower jumped in his pickup, drove out to the field. It also called the local sheriff's office. The sheriff drove out there and they caught the thief red-handed.
So that's pretty valuable to have. You see the results right there. Tell me about drop span.
Yeah, over the last 3 years, we've been very focused on developing products that allow the grower to get the most out of his field. You know, when you and I have talked about this before, but all the nice square 160-acre quarters have been developed. So it's now quarters that have unusual boundaries, or they have obstructions in them, a grain leg, a farmstead, those kinds of things. So we started with products, the Bender 30 and a Bender 160, which allowed the pivot to bend around obstructions. The drop span is the third product in that family that allows a pivot to stop at an obstruction, and then the grower can go out and actually unhook one, two, and leave them there, and the machine can then continue inside of the obstruction. We found instances, you know, your typical scenario where you have a farmstead in the middle of a quarter, that pie-shaped wedge in the middle you were missing before could be as much 5, 6, 7 acres. But over the last year where we've had this product in the field, we've seen instances where there's been obstructions on long, narrow fields where they actually pick up the spans, and most of the time it's running with this machine dropped, and they may pick up 20 or 30 acres in some of those cases. So it ends up being a pretty meaningful amount of ground that now is under irrigation.
Kind of like when we're talking combines, same with the irrigation equipment. Greater efficiency and more ease of comfort for the operator.
That's right. You want to make it get the most efficiency, cover the most ground. You've got this ground, the more of it you can put under irrigation, the better you're going to be off, and then make your more efficient and easy operation through your remote control monitoring products.
Where can people learn more about Valley Irrigation?
Yeah, go to valleyirrigation.com and you can go there and see everything with all the Valley products. You can go to the dealer locator and find who your nearest dealer is, and they'll be more than happy to help you out.
Thanks. Good to see you again, Wade.
Thanks, Mike.